I'm Sarah.
And I'm Cam.
And I'm Laura.
We at Streaming Rainbow are about to run our very first game here for you, and we're using the Fate system by Evil Hat Games. Fate is a pretty popular system, but not everyone is familiar with it.
So we thought we'd provide a quick presentation on how to play Fate.
That way you can focus on the storytelling. Or, hit us up in the comments if we messed up the rules.
The first thing to note is that Fate is a skills-based system. All rolls are based on your skill level. Characters start with 4 skills at average, 3 skills at fair, 2 skills at good, and 1 at great. There are 18 skills to choose from by default, which cover most any action a character might like to attempt. This makes rolling really easy. The Game Master determines the difficulty of the task, and the player rolls 4 Fate dice. These are 6-sided dice with 3 possible results: a plus, a minus, or a blank. One can therefore roll anywhere between +4 and -4, but one is more likely to roll something closer to 0 than to either extreme. Once you've rolled, you add or subtract the result you get to your skill level. So let's say I'm trying to scale a wall with my good athletic skill. The GM says the difficulty is great, so all I need to do is get a great roll or above to succeed and climb up that wall. I roll the dice, and it comes up with 2 pluses and a minus, for a total of +1. That raises my good 1 level to great, and I successfully climb the wall. As with many TTRPGs, some rolls are opposed. So for instance, if I'm trying to lie to an NPC and be believed, I would make a roll with my deceive skill, and the GM would make a roll with the NPC's empathy skill. Whoever ends up higher on the ladder of skill levels wins. Another cool thing that can happen is called succeeding with style. If I make a roll and I get a result that is at least 3 levels higher than my target, I succeed with style, and something special can happen. Usually something like gaining a temporary advantage at what I'm doing.
Something that's special in Fate, and one of the reasons we like it, is the aspects. With aspects, Fate takes things that other games might consider flavor or backstory and it turns it into a useful game mechanic. Each character gets 5 aspects. Aspects are short phrases that express something important about that character. No, there's the character's high concept. That means that it is a phrase that encapsulates who the character is or what they stand for or where they come from. Then there's something called the character's trouble, which is a phrase that refers to the character's greatest struggle or greatest opposition. Usually, one or more of these 5 aspects is in direct relation or correlation with a relationship to another character. But other than those, one is free to fill in these aspects whatever they come up with. So you could have off-the-wall phrases that really describe your character in unique ways, such as ex-leader of the Scorpion Gang, or haunted by a mysterious lost love, or deadly when put in a corner, or something like that. But how do these aspects affect the gameplay? Well, I'm so glad you asked, my friend. In the game of Fate, whenever you roll a dice before or after you make that roll, you can choose to invoke an aspect. If the aspect is applicable to the scene, relevant in the situation, like say if I'm trying to intimidate a goon and I have the aspect known to be violent, I could roll my provoke skill and I can add a +2 bonus to that roll. This really comes in clutch and is especially satisfying to get those bonuses for things that make narrative sense to your character. Aspects can also be what's called compelling. That is, if you're in a situation where your aspect might make you act a certain way or have a negative effect happen to you. Your GM could actually offer you fate points for going along with that, really getting into the role play of it. It's a great way to use fate points to really inspire players to make relevant choices, and you can really stack up those fate points for later in the game. Scenes also have aspects. NPCs have aspects. There's a whole ecosystem of aspects just waiting for you to invoke. Another instance, I'm trying to hide, and in the scene I'm in, the aspect is full of large clutter. I could spend a fate point and get a +2 to my roll, even if one of my aspects don't really match up to the situation. I invoked the scene itself. All in all, aspects are a big part of what make fate so interesting. But what about all of those magic weapons and sorcerous rituals and superpowers? Well, that's where stunts come in. So you're in a game that doesn't deviate too much from the mundane. Your stunts would be used to show mastery or special skills. They would add the coolness you needed to the basic rules, essentially. You could have a stunt in like a shooter game called the Sniper that would give you a +2 to shoot if you had like a stabilized rifle. You could also have a stunt called Amazing Gadgets that would let you use like your crafts instead of fight if you're in a conflict with equipment that you have made yourself. Things like that. They give your character a little bit of coolness. They make you unique, really. Say you're in a supernatural game, right? You would use these stunts as your magic or psychic powers. Say a stunt called Clairvoyance could allow you to use your notice roll to perceive things far away. One called Summoning could let you construct magic and summon things and roll lore to make little pets that you could get. They really fill out your character, give you like the things that you dream up in your head when you've put this person down onto your page. A really cool thing about stunts is that you can just scrap them altogether. In Haley's Children, we have replaced our stunts with literally a powers section. It works pretty much the same way, but it really fits into this superhero aesthetic. So stunts, right? Or whatever you might replace them with. They are balanced in the game. They are opposed with what is called your refresh.
But what about combat? How does the Fate system help us to have fast paced, exciting combat? Well, remember those opposed rolls we talked about earlier? Every attack is an opposed roll, usually with fight or shoot, opposed by the enemy's fight or athletics. If the defender wins, the attack fails. If the attacker wins, they potentially do damage according to the amount of levels or shifts that they rolled above what the defender rolled. So if I roll a superb and my enemy defends with a good, that's 2 shifts of damage. But there's not a hit point system in Fate, so what happens then? Well, when you get a hit, a character's first line of defense is their stress track. Every character starts with 2 stress boxes each for physical and mental damage, more if they have high physique or will. Stress represents the dramatic things a character might do to avoid getting hurt. Maybe they saw the blow coming at them and dodged at the last second, taking only a superficial nick to the face. Maybe they dived to avoid a fireball and ended up just a little singed. When you take damage, you can use a stress box of that number or higher to shrug it off. So, with my 2 shifts of damage from my attack roll, my enemy would need to check off a level 2 stress box or a higher one if they have those available. If they do that, they're fine. They've avoided taking damage from my attack. But what if I did more damage than that, or they'd already used all their relevant stress boxes? That's when we get to actual damage, and it's called consequences. Consequences come in mild, moderate, and severe, And like stress, they have shift values. A mild consequence works for 2 shifts of damage, a moderate for 4, and a severe for 6. When you take a consequence, it acts like a temporary aspect. You write something in that slot, something like black eye or winded for minor consequence, for instance, or exhausted or wounded arm for moderate, or internal bleeding or deep trauma for severe. These are things that can be used against you by your opponent, so watch out. When you take damage that you can neither absorb with stress nor with a remaining consequence, you are taken out. That's not to say you're dead, but it does mean your opponent gets to decide what happens to you, and that's never good.
So that's Fate. We hope our introduction was helpful as a jumpstart. Whether you're planning on playing or just interested in watching others play, we hope you find it as fun and exciting as we do. See you in the game.